you could see the comparison I was making.
I mean, I can see what you're saying, but
Ew,
like,
but no, not like later on Catherine. Like I like bad bitch Catherine the first like 2-3 seasons. After that, Catherine really just went down. Anyways, go. What were we talking about?
I don't know what I'm like insulted
This
that you
reminds
called me
me of
Elena.
I went on the Chapter Tricks account yesterday.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Book Talk Tuesday video. Today's video, we are going to dive straight into a series that I always recommend to everybody that I talk to about books with. For anyone that does not know, my favorite book series, like ever, other than like After of course, is the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy. Camera change in 3, 2, 1. Technical difficulties because the other camera wanted to die right when I was in the middle of the intro, so we're having to charge that battery and start with this camera now. Elle Kennedy is one of my favorite authors as of right now. She obviously came out with the Off-Campus series. She also has a spin-off series called Briar, which is based around the same college or university, whatever you want to call it, but focuses on 4 different couples within those series. For anyone that has not read this series, Off-Campus is a series of books based off of college students. There are 4 different college boys that all happen to play hockey together for Briar University. We have Garrett, Logan, Dean, and Tucker. And basically these boys end up having their own stories within each 4 of the books of the Off-Campus series, and they all individually fall in love with a girl. Each book of theirs revolves around their story with the girl. I wanted to do this video as my first video. I was gonna do After, but then I thought pretty much anybody on my channel has already seen all of my After videos, so I didn't want to bore you with more of it. If you guys want me to go more in depth or redo those videos, I guess, by all means I'll do it again, but I didn't want to bore anybody, so that's exactly why I'm not doing After first. Also, like I said, this is one of my favorite series, so obviously I own them. I would like to say also, I don't own the Briar series yet, only because I was broke. So that's the reason I don't own them yet. Basically, I have all the Off-Campus, so I will be having these to show you for reference when I'm talking about each one of the characters in the books. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say because I'm gonna have to show you pictures of the covers for the Briar series rather than showing you the actual books. But without further ado, we're just gonna get right started into this video, and yeah. Not that I think anyone's gonna ask, but just in case someone does ask, the reason that I'm wearing yellow for today's video is because Briar or Briar University, whatever you wanna call them, their colors are like gold and black. And I mean, I could have put my Preds outfit on, but my Nashville Preds is like yellow, gold, and like blue, so that really wouldn't have worked. I'm wearing yellow in honor of my Briar boys because I love them so much and I miss them so freaking much. Also, for anyone that did not know, Elle has just published her book earlier this year. It's the last of the Off-Campus series, which actually broke my heart because it was a bittersweet goodbye to the characters. And I would also like to say that this is going to be a spoiler video. I'm going to be talking about my favorite quotes and favorite moments from each of the books. So if you have not read the series, go read it, come back and watch this video later. Or if you don't care and you're never going to read the series, keep watching. Also, to whoever's in charge with making a Netflix series, I would personally love for you to actually continue making the series because the series is very, very, very important to me. And yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to just go ahead and get started with my makeup and talk to you all about Off-Campus. Okay, so while I do my base and everything, I'm going to be discussing The Deal, which is the story of Hannah Wellesley and Garrett Graham. This book is so good. Like, I'm gonna say that about all the books, so just be aware, but like this one is like the one that like calls everybody in. I feel like there's not one person that has read this book series that says it's bad. It's such a good book. So like I said, I'm gonna start it with a little quote, if you will. I have a quote for most of the books already planned out, but bear with me, there's some of these books that aren't my favorites, so I don't have quotes for them. But this one in particular is one of my favorites. I really liked the scene where she basically says like, I'm broken, but I couldn't exactly find the quote and I didn't want to say it without knowing it. So one of the quotes that I really liked was by Garrett, and he actually says it to Hannah, and he says, "Baby, I could watch you watch paint dry and I still wouldn't be bored." And I just think it's such a cute moment in the book. Hannah went through a bunch of really intense things, and obviously reading the series you'll find that out later. It's actually really sad. It's like such a bittersweet thing. Like, the book itself teaches like a bunch of very strong, heavy subjects from Hannah's point of view, if you know what I'm talking about. Also, this is a POV book, so it goes from like Hannah, Garrett, Hannah, Garrett, Hannah, Garrett, you know what I mean? So I personally like that. I love books like that, which I guess is why I obviously started reading it, because after is a lot like it. But yeah, this is the best book that I mean, this is like, I wouldn't say this is obviously one of my favorite books, obviously, but I wouldn't say this is like the best book out of the series, only because, okay, obviously this is like the most infamous book out of the series, so I don't want to say too much, because if someone wants to read it, I want you to actually have that feeling for the first time of reading it. One of my favorite scenes is when Hannah obviously breaks down to Garrett and, you know, the whole situation where she says she's broken, but I really like how she finds trust in Garrett at one point in the book. Obviously, if you read the book series, you'll know what I'm talking about more in depth, but it's cute because he doesn't give up on her, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, you'd have to read it, obviously, but it's such a cute moment, and that makes this book one of the best of the series. So the next book of the series that we're going to be talking about is The Mistake. This covers the love story of Logan and Grace, or if you want to be specific, it's Grace Ivers and John Logan. I feel like I said that wrong. I love how I'm like, this is my favorite series. I do love this book. I feel like I relate the most to Grace. Grace is a very out there with her friends, if you will, but she is not expertise in the sexual field, if you know what I mean. Also, her mother lives in Paris, so that reference was kind of cute for me to read because I love Paris. Logan, basically, you know, it's called A Mistake because something happens and one thing leads to another and blah blah blah, but I'm not gonna get too far in depth. This book, I love this book so much. I remember when I read this, I was like, this is my favorite, this is the best one, this is like the best one. I definitely feel like I'm gonna end up telling you guys later on, but I want to mention it now before I forget about it. The first 3 of the off-campus books are the best. I feel like the 4th one was kind of like okay, but I have my reason for that. This is the second book of the off-campus series, and it's just so good. Okay, I literally know that it looks scary and I'm not going to talk about it right now, but I wanted to go ahead and do my foundation off camera because it takes the longest and it's annoying to do it. Favorite quote from The Mistake is Grace and Logan are having like an argument or a disagreement or something, and he says, I forget exactly what he says, but he says something and then she goes, "Because I love you, you stupid jackass." And it's just so funny. Like, it's just so, it's such a cute moment. It's like, because it gets referenced a lot more in the books than just that one moment. There's at one point when he's like, "What if I really screw this up, guys," or whatever, and then Garrett ends up saying to him, like, "Dude, I promise you, like, you didn't. Like, she's not mad at you," or whatever. And he's like, "How do you know that?" And he's like, "Because she loves you." And then Tucker like chimes in and he's like, "You stupid jackass." I love them boys. Okay, so I don't know it word by word, so I'm gonna have to read it off my laptop, but one of my favorite, I also put in another quote because I love this book, y'all. So another quote was, "You're the last person I think about before I go to sleep and the first person I think about when I open my eyes in the morning. You're it for me, baby." And he tells Grace this. I love him, and he just like deserves everything in life, like honestly. So one moment I really liked from The Mistake, because it was just such a cute little part to put in the book, was when Grace goes in, because she works at a radio like show type thing, and basically they have these callers that call in and ask questions for like advice or whatever from the hosts of the show. And basically they had it planned for Logan to call. I think that, I can't remember, I want to say this is the second or third time. I want to say he only screwed up 2 times, but you know boys, so you never know. But anyway, so after he had messed up one time, he obviously got this idea, and obviously we as readers don't know until Grace knows, because then it would ruin the book. But she finds out because he called in and asked if they would help him out, and basically he called in during the radio show and he acted as an anonymous person, and it basically said that he screwed up with this girl that really was everything to him and blah 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 blah. And soon to find out, you find out that it's Logan, and he's like, I love you Grace or whatever, and it's like the cutest thing ever because she's like, what? And then he walks like past the studio doors where she's at, and she looks out and she's like, oh my god. And they were like, did you not think we didn't know this was part of the plan? Like, you're off today, like whatever. And it's just such a cute moment. Like, it makes me so sad. I really just be sitting here like, okay, can someone love me? Like, that's all I want. Like, it's just, all I want is love to last. And that is again why Logan and Grace are my favorite freaking couple. It's so funny because they're such an underrated couple, but it's like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean, fam? Logan and Grace just do things to me and I don't want to talk about it. All of these characters basically are repeating within each series. So when you learn about Hannah and Garrett, you now see them in some parts of the deal, or the mistake. So you'll not only see, but you'll see all of them repeating. You just won't see as much of them until their own stories. Which is also another reason why I cannot stand the Goal as much, but I'll get to that point in a minute when I get to it. But there's a reason why I don't really like that one as much. So while my eyeshadow is slowly in process and my face is baking, we are going to be talking about The Score, which is the love story of Elle and Dean. Elle is a amateur actor or actress, if you will, and Dean is obviously a hockey player. I hate saying that because like obviously they're all hockey players. But basically, this is okay. So what happens at the very beginning is that Elle has a boyfriend named Sean. It's her ex-boyfriend, and he basically screws her over a lot, and she ends up crying and coming to Hannah, which is her best friend, which Hannah is from the deal, if you remember. Hannah basically says that she can sleep at their house, which they all live off campus, hence why it's called off campus, but they live off campus in like this mansion looking sorority house type thing, but it's only the 4 boys. So Hannah obviously shacks up with Garrett, so she's there with him. And so she tells Elle while they're gone for the weekend that Elle can stay in their bedroom, and to tell Dean to keep his paws off because Dean is basically a sex addict. He's all about the girls, all about the touchy-feely shit, if you will. And needless to say, things obviously happen because look how thick this book is, and obviously they end up dating, or not dating, but you know what I mean, story happens. Basically the story, it's so good because I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading the other 2 books I really thought I was gonna hate Dean. Like I really did not think I was gonna like Dean as much as I do, and I love Dean. Like okay, so I couldn't necessarily find a certain quote, and I couldn't remember one that I like really liked to talk about. So instead of doing that, we're just going to talk about some of the highlights from the book because I do remember quite a few of those. Anyway, so the first one that I could think of is Winston. If you know, you know. Next one I want to talk about is a really heavy subject to discuss, I guess, if you will, and that would be Beau's death. Now, like I said at the beginning, this is spoiling, so if you heard me say that and are still here, don't comment and get mad because now you know Beau dies. But basically, Beau ends up dying, and Beau was like basically best friends with Dean, and it's like the hardest thing to watch Dean go through it because obviously Elle is like dating him but not dating him because they don't want a relationship, but they do want a it's really weird. Basically, she confides in he ends up teaching or like volunteering at this like little league type thing, if you will. It's not like a little league, that's baseball. It's almost like the junior hockey team or whatever, but it's little kids, and he like really loves it. Takes his job so serious. It's like a volunteering thing, right? I don't think it's a job, but he takes it so seriously. And after Beau dies, he has a really hard time coping with it, so he doesn't show up for work. Elle goes to the manager or whatever, the person that's in charge, and she's like fighting for him and his job. She's like, you don't understand, like I promise, like Dean's all about this job, blah 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 blah. And she really fights for him to be able to have that job, and it actually shows a lot for both of their characters in particularly. Okay, this other moment is like really sitting on my like heart right now, and I don't know why in particularly. And when I was looking up like quotes and stuff from the book, I literally could not for the life of me find this freaking scene, and it like actually makes me so mad because it was such a good scene, but I remember it happening, but I don't remember what exactly happened because it wasn't my favorite book of the series, so I guess I didn't really take it too seriously. But I am frustrated because I remember it being such a good scene. But anyways, something basically goes down with Sean. I want to say it's Sean, or maybe something goes, I almost want to say it was Sean. Something goes down with Sean, and Garrett and Hannah are at the house comforting Allie, and basically all Allie wants is Dean. And little does she know, because no one knows at this time that they're like together technically, and so he basically ends up showing up at the house during whatever happened with her and Sean, and he's really there for Allie, and it's just such a cute moment. Like, it's actually the sweetest freaking thing, just because, you know, when you first read off campus, Dean is like the biggest hoe of the group, if I'm being honest. So reading that was like, wow, definitely a character development there. And it was so sweet. Like, Dean is such a sweetheart. I love him. Okay, so while I do my eyeliner, I'm going to be discussing The Goal, which is the love story between Sabrina James and John Tucker. Also, I failed to mention at the very beginning that the reason that their names are Tucker and Logan is because both of them have the first name John, and everybody just found it 10 times easier just to call them by their last names, which is why they go by Logan and Tucker. Just so everyone was clear. Anyways, I want to mention something as to reason why this is not one of my favorite books, because I feel like it's necessary for me to say, just so I don't get like backlash. Not that I think I'm gonna get backlash, but you never know. Anyways, basically this book is not one of my favorites, but I feel like out of all due respect and in their defense, Tucker wasn't really shown as much in the other books, so there wasn't an evolution to loving Tucker, if that makes any sense. Like with the rest of them, like Dean, you thought he was an asshole when you first met him, but it's like as soon as you read a story, you had already seen him act like an ass in all the other books, so when you finally read his story, you understood why. But like, which is funny because his is the thickest, but also the reason it's the thickest is because what happens in the other stories, there's a reason why in this book you're understanding a lot more and it's a lot thicker, because he's not really present in the other 3 books as much, but there's a huge reason why, and I will not spoil that for you. But if you want to read this is actually a really good book, but it's not my favorite out of the 4 of them, just to let you know. So for reasons that I can't name, Tucker wants to be there for Sabrina, and like I said, I don't want to ruin this series. So now that we got that out of the way and the hard part, I'm gonna do my mascara, and then we're gonna go in with the rest. We're gonna do the rest of the face and focus on Briar U. So basically, there's a specific reason why Tucker has to pull through and kind of be there for Sabrina, and obviously I can't tell you that, but I just wanted to mention that for anybody that has read the book type of thing. But there are some things that I feel like I want you to be like, oh my god, when you read it yourself instead of me just telling you. Anyways, he's just really there for Sabrina, and she has a really hard life at home, and honestly it just broke my heart reading her side of her story. Okay, a little honorable mention that I wanted to put out there was the first time Sabrina admits that she loves Tucker, and she admits it because Tucker's mom comes to visit, and she's basically telling Sabrina that she's no good for her son and yada yada yada, and there's a lot of other stuff that goes into that, but I'll let you read it yourself. And basically she screams like, don't tell me how to do this or whatever, and don't tell me how to love your son or something, whatever she says. And then she's like, but I love your son or something like that, and she like screams at her, and Tucker walks into it and hears her say that, and it just it's just so good. Like, it's just so freaking good. Okay, so obviously for the rest of my face and whatever else I do to my hair or something, we're gonna be talking about Briar U, and obviously I don't have those books to show you all, so that's going to be kind of disappointing and kind of sad. Okay, so obviously I can't show it to you like I said, but I'm going to be doing my blush while I talk about The Chase, which is the love story based off of Summer De Laurentiis and Colin Fitzgerald, or Fitz, whatever you want to call him. He's called like 800 different names in the series, so it's kind of whatever you want to call him. Just in case the last name didn't give it away or be obvious enough, Summer is the younger sister of Dean De Laurentiis, which was obviously in the score, if you were paying attention. he's a very overprotective brother, but he's not really mentioned that much in the, like, I mean, he's mentioned in the series, obviously, but like there's only one specific part that I can actually think of that he's like really in, which I guess I can go ahead and say, which is when he finds out about Fitz and Summer dating. And he basically, they made this like pact or something or whatever, where if anyone is to date someone on this team's sister, younger sister, or something like that, or I guess it's just sister, that they would get to, I want to say it's get kneed in the balls or kicked in the balls or something like that, because Summer ends up screaming like, I want to have kids, Dickie, which is what she nicknamed him. I'm not just saying that to be inappropriate. Anyways, but that's that. Also, I wanted to put this in there, and this is like, if you're younger, I guess don't watch this video right now, because I'm about to say something that's kind of nasty and it's inappropriate for younger audiences. Anyways, I've warned you, so if your mothers are listening to this and your mothers come at me, I warned your children to click off the video. Anyways, one of the best scenes I feel like was when they had gone out to like they always go out to this diner. I forget what the name of it is, and I want to say it's mentioned in it, but they always go out to this diner, and there was one particular time they went out to the diner and Summer is wearing this like open back shirt or whatever, and she does something that makes, oh no, she gets in a fight with someone, like one of these girls, because they're talking about her and Brenna, which is one of these girls from the series as well, and basically she tries to fight the girl, and I want to say it's Colin or it's Hunter that pulls Summer off of the girl, and basically, long story short, she comes outside and she like she stomps after Fitz, and she's like, what the hell was that all about? Like, why are you blah 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 blah, like, do you not like me, blah 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 blah. And he literally like takes her hand and puts it on his like hard on, if you will, and he's like, do you not understand how hard you make me? Like, do you not understand how much you turn me on right now? Don't even say that. And it's just like, oh. Like, I'll let you read the scene for yourself, but like, oh, New Year's Eve, I feel like this is an obvious one. It's like in the first 2 or 3 chapters, but basically what happens is that Summer overhears Fitz telling Garrett that he doesn't want to date her and blah 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 blah. I forget the exact words he uses, but he says he's not into her because she's not ditzy, but like something like that, along the lines of like all she cares about is fashion, which is why I like the book kind of, because I relate to her. But it's not that she's ditzy, but it's almost kind of like that. It's like that she's not useful in a certain, I forget the freaking word, but you'll figure it out if you read it. Basically, he tells him that because Garrett is on to him. Garrett knows he likes Summer, but keep in mind, Fitz is also like, I want to say, I think he's a year under Dean, and Summer's a freshman, I want to say. So it's like, you know, funny because she's had a crush on him for so long. Like, she's always liked him. Whenever they went to parties or whatever, she went to Dean's parties, she was always up his butt, like loved him, and he just never showed interest. And then until like the New Year's party, I guess that's when he showed interest in her. And it's just so funny because he went to go find her to kiss her at midnight, and he saw her kissing Hunter, and it broke his heart, and he was so pissed. But like, you can't be mad because you were the one that ruined the chance, because she overheard you telling Garrett something that wasn't true because you wanted to make it seem like you didn't like her, even though you do. It's just stupid. Like, communication, that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do. Okay, so the next thing I'm doing is going in with a bronzer, and we're going to be talking about The Risk, which is honestly the best one out of the Briar You series. So The Risk is based off of Brenna Jensen and Jake Connolly. Basically, the reason it's called The Risk is because it's a risk dating each other, because they are rivals. So Jake plays on, yeah, it is Harvard. I'm stupid. I should just actually love myself for once and, you know, deal with it. He plays for Harvard, and they're rivals against each other. The coaches hate each other, and Brenna's dad is the coach for Briar U. So obviously, since he has beef against that coach, even if it's not Jake's dad, it's still the fact that it's his coach. So when the coach for Harvard finds out about Brenna and Jake, he uses it as kind of like a pawn against her dad in a way. So after something happens, he basically says like, you tried to use your daughter to get in my kid's head or whatever, and he basically doesn't know what the hell's going on because he doesn't know that his daughter was dating Jake. So he's confused. And it's a good story altogether. It's like, it's actually really, really cute. I definitely enjoyed it. I also put the hot sex scene. There's one really, really hot sex, like there's one really good one. all I'm gonna say about it is that they're in the bedroom and she like gets on top of him while he's in a chair, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. And if you want to read the rest of it and you want to find out what happens and how you can make yourself feel after reading a hot book like that, then you just watch it and read it or whatever for yourself. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyways, yeah. The next book I'm talking about is The Play, which is the story of Hunter Davenport and Demi. I don't remember her last name, so, but like honestly, it doesn't really matter that I don't remember her last name because the book wasn't my favorite. I can't remember why it wasn't my favorite. I guess just because I didn't relate to the characters, and I guess when you read a book you would like to relate somewhat to them or at least want to be friends with them, and I guess I didn't care to be friends with any of them. I put on here is because I feel like this, I want to say this was the book that they introduced Pablo Escobar, and that's the only reason I wanted to like mention this book was because I thought it was really funny. If you guys don't know who that is, basically the team, Briar University's team, wanted a pet pig as their mascot for their hockey team, and the coach was like, you guys literally are so stupid, you could not do that to save your life. Like, you could not care for a pig. So he was like, if you can care for this egg, I want to say it was for a week, maybe it was a month, I want to say maybe it was a month, oh no, maybe it was like 6 months, it was a hot minute. They had made like a whole Instagram account for it and everything, and basically each teammate took turns taking care of this egg, and they named it Pablo Escobar. And it was just the funniest thing. While I do my setting spray and my lips, we're going to talk about The Dare, which follows Taylor and Connor. I forget Taylor's last name, but I know Connor is Connor Edwards. This is the most recent book that came out. I spent the whole day, I literally tweeted and was like, don't at me, don't talk to me, don't call me, don't text me. I literally will not be I will not be available until I have finished this book. And I kept my word to it, and I did not go on Twitter until I had read the whole Dare book. This follows, I think this story is actually a very, very nice way to end, because Taylor is someone that's very self-conscious in herself. She's more of the, on the, not, I don't want to say chunkier side, but like thicker side. So she's got some like weight on her. Like obviously she's not fat, but she's like thicker. And it just meant a lot. It meant a lot to me that Elle put a girl like that in, because not all college girls are like hot, skinny blondes. So like it meant a lot to me that she wasn't like, let me just make them all hot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, Taylor's obviously hot from like description. So basically she joins a sorority, and I won't ruin the entire book, but I'll just basically say something goes down with the sorority, and basically like someone ended up putting their video or something like on Pornhub or something, and they ended up having to go to the police and all this other crap. It's crazy. It's a crazy story. I'm also gonna do my hair, probably like brush it and maybe like rebraid it or something, because I have like 2 more bullet points that there's like 3 more bullet points I want to talk about, and I'm already done with my makeup. So throwing Game Station out, because was this Demi? No, this was definitely Taylor. Taylor is dating this guy. I'm almost positive it's Taylor. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. We're gonna say it's Taylor and roll with it. Anyways, so Taylor is dating this guy, and he basically is a huge douchebag, and she basically ends up throwing his Xbox like out the sorority house. And it's just so funny. So I wanted to put that in there as like an honorable mention, even though it's not necessary to the story, but I just thought it was really, really funny. So I also put on a bullet point that he didn't want to hide anymore. They had like secretly dated for a hot second or whatever, and they had went to this like dinner almost, and it was like around Christmas time, and Taylor like lied and said she had Christmas gifts or whatever to give people, and he was just so sick and fed up, and he's like, you know what, like I don't want to hide like anymore about our relationship. So he like fesses up to everybody at the table, and he's like, no, Taylor and I are dating, like I really, really care about her, blah 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 blah. I just thought about something. Oh my god, we love when that happens. Okay, anyways, so there's this part in the book where they're at like this party or whatever, and they all think that, and I want to say that one of like the meaner girls from the sorority of hers picks for her to make out with Connor, and he like, they like fake have sex and everything, and he like helps her out, and it's the cutest freaking thing. I'm so sad. So he knows that these girls are like basically snobs, and that they don't talk nice about Taylor at all. So they go to this like banquet type thing, and basically he overhears them talking about he overhears the girl talking to the friends or the girls at the sorority, saying how like, oh, she probably made it up, he probably doesn't want like anything to do with her, he probably hasn't texted her, blah 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 blah. So to make himself look better, he goes up to Taylor and he's like, why haven't you been answering my calls? Like I'm really interested in you, Taylor. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, I thought we were done. And then he was like, he's literally like, no, I like you, blah, 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 blah. And he does it, like, I mean, obviously he really does end up liking her, but he does it to make a scene, to prove a point to the girls that, like, Taylor is hot enough to get a guy like him. And it's just like, he's so here. And to wrap up on these little bullet points that I have, I also put the dance because there's a part where they obviously split up and they get in a big fight, as does every freaking book like this. He's driving and he realizes that he has really bad anxiety over some stuff that he did in his past, and he ends up telling himself, you know what, this is a girl that makes me the happiest and I'm gonna go fight for her. And he takes his ass all the way back to this dance that he was supposed to take Taylor to, and he literally didn't show up, and like basically stood her up for the sorority event. And it was the saddest thing because like she was so looking forward to it and he just didn't show up. He ended up like dancing with this one guy, and he shows up like right in the middle of her dancing with him, and he's like, get the fuck off of her, and he's like screaming, and it's so freaking good. Okay, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave a comment down below. Let me know what book series that you guys want us to hear about next, or what you want me to read, for crying out loud. If you haven't already, follow my Goodreads. And while I mention it, if you guys want to hear more about these books, you can check out my podcast that I do with my friend Abby, where we talked all about it in an episode called A Lar Love Letter to Garrett Graham. Anyways, I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.